I'd like to thank you all for joining us for the 9th Missouri River Basin Water Management Conference Call of 2000. I am Monique Farmer, and I will be the moderator for today's call. These calls are recorded in their entirety. Your participation acknowledges your consent to be recorded. The agenda for today's call will be as follows. Dr. Dennis Toddy, the South Dakota State climatologist, will talk about the short and long-range precipitation and temperature outlooks from the NOAA Climate Prediction Center. Jody Farhat, Chief of the Missouri River Basin Water Management Division, will provide an update on the Corps' reservoir release schedule. Levee repair status updates will be provided by Brett Budd, Chief of the Omaha District Systems Restoration Team. We will also receive an update on repairs from Robin Wancom, Kansas City District Emergency Operations Center. And then we will field questions by state. We do use the Fort mute function during the call. To unmute your line during this call, please enter *6. This function does not work on all phones, so please be aware that if this mute function does not work on your phone, all others on the call will be able to hear your conversation. Just a reminder that a link to our press kit, which includes bios, Missouri River Basin information, and historical data, and the PowerPoint slides from Dr. Toddy's portion of the call, can be found in your media advisory today. You can also access the press kit from our website. We do also offer this call in a podcast format in iTunes. Follow the link from your media advisory or go to iTunes and run a search for Missouri River Basin Water Management to subscribe. We will now begin with Dr. Dennis Toddy, the South Dakota State climatologist. He will provide us with the short and long-range precipitation and temperature outlooks from the NOAA Climate Prediction Center. The charts that he will reference begin on page 20 of your press kit. Dr. Toddy, *6 to come off mute.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Good to be here. Very warm, windy day over a good portion of the basin. The situation we're dealing with right now, the slides, I will not address all the slides. They're there. Some of them are there for later reference for people. Kind of a general overview of what is happening right now. We have moved from a larger scale perspective from a La Nina, which we were in through this last winter, to neutral conditions, which is between El Nino and La Nina. So some of our predictability we lose in that situation as we're looking further in the outlooks. Mountain snowpack will be talked about further, mostly below average at this point, much different from the situation at this point last year, but much below average right now. Generally warm conditions, not as warm as in the month of March, but the last 30 days, relatively warm continuing, which presents some issues along with that in the way of higher evaporation and less runoff because of that. We have had some isolated weather conditions leading to some flooding in the James Big Sioux area with some heavy rains 2 weeks ago. As we're looking ahead, we'll talk more about these. Most likely warmer conditions further to the south and across the southern U.S., not as strong over the basin, but there is potential for drier than average conditions, more likely drier than average conditions in the far upper part of the basin as we go through the summer, looking in the Wyoming and western Montana area. Moving on to slide 2, kind of review of conditions over the last 30 days. The left-hand side, departure from average temperatures. Again, not as warm as in March, but staying very warm over most of the area, most of the basin, all the plains. So looking at warmer conditions leading to higher evaporation rates. On the lower right-hand side, percent of normal precipitation, or how much precipitation has occurred over the last 30 days. Further to the west and to the south, the redder areas, much drier than average conditions, on the order of less than half to, in some cases, as little as 5% of average precipitation in Wyoming, into the leads into the Missouri River. Areas of northern Montana, parts of North Dakota, and central and eastern South Dakota have been near average to up to 150% of average over that time period. And that eastern South Dakota area was the one where we talked about the flooding issues. The next one shows the comparison in the mountain snow comparison. We've talked about that briefly, so we'll move on. Move on to slide 4, looking at the temperature and precipitation probabilities, the 8 to 14 day outlook, looking at the end of the month here. Conditions on the left noting more likely cooler than average conditions over the upper part of the basin and warmer than average conditions over the southern part of the basin, with a narrow band of near normal over that time period in between. Part of the reason for the cooler than average conditions being more likely is shown on the right-hand side. You see across the northern tier of states, the green is indicating above average chances for precipitation. It looks like in the 10 to 14 day time period, we're going to continue to have chances for additional precipitation, Montana, North Dakota, northern Minnesota. But you see at the southern part of the basin a figure of drier than average conditions, kind of a ridge that is going to be built in over the central part of the U.S., pushing storm systems further north, where they'll be dropping some precipitation, and areas, southern parts of the basin, staying on the dry side. Looking further ahead in the June outlook, you see the temperature outlooks are indicating warmer than average conditions across the southern U.S. That is a most likely figure that's going to stay in through the winter, stay in through the rest of the summer. That area of warmer than average temperatures will build as we look into the later periods, in the July, August, September time period, that the warmer than average conditions will build into the northern Rockies. And then the other feature to look here, I mentioned to earlier, on the right-hand side, precipitation. You see here an indication in the brown for drier than average conditions over the Pacific Northwest. If you go down to the next slide, slide 6, where we're looking at June, July, August precipitation probabilities, you'll see that builds into parts of Wyoming and western Montana for chances for drier than average conditions as we're looking through the rest of summer. And the next outlook looks about the same for the July, August, September period. Last slide, drought update. The additional precipitation has improved drought conditions over chunks of the Dakotas and part of Nebraska. So we've removed most of the D1 and D2 areas, moderate to severe drought that is in the basin. Still large areas of D0 over the western Dakotas, Wyoming, and parts of Montana, indicating some drier soil moisture conditions. Could have some continuing issues if we do not get some additional precipitation as we're going along. And the seasonal drought outlook, which is also listed there, the green areas over the northern plains indicated those pockets of D1 that exist. Some improvement still likely going on in the near term, and then the small area in western Nebraska, western South Dakota, some improvement, but less likely chances there for complete resolution. That's the end of my report.
Thank you, Dr. Toddy. Jody Farhat, Chief of the Missouri River Basin Water Management Division, will now provide an update on the Corps' reservoir release schedule.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us on the call today. We appreciate your participation and your help keeping the public informed. The total volume of water stored in the Mainstem Reservoir System today is 56.9 million acre-feet, which is just 100,000 acre-feet above the base of the annual flood control pool, and it's just a very slight increase from the beginning of the month. This means that we currently have 16.2 of the 16.3 million acre-feet of flood control storage available. System storage fell as low as 56.1 million acre-feet near the end of January, and is currently just 800,000 acre-feet above that level. And to put this in perspective, you might remember that last May, after those heavy rains that fell in Montana, our system storage was rising at a rate of over 400,000 acre-feet a day. Last year at this time, system storage was 66.3 million acre-feet, 9.4 million acre-feet higher than it is today, and that was due primarily to the heavy plain snowpack that had already melted and come into the reservoir system and the beginning of those record rains across the upper basin. As mentioned in the call last week, our runoff forecast for the 2012 calendar year above Sioux City, Iowa, is 21.6 million acre-feet, which is 87% of normal, and this is based on the lack of plain snowpack, the lower than average mountain snowpack, and the unusually warm and dry conditions that we've had so far this year. So mountain snowpack in the reach of Fort Peck peaked on April 9th at 97% of the normal peak. As of yesterday, May 17th, the snowpack was down to 46% of the normal peak. Mountain snowpack in the reach between Fort Peck and Garrison, which includes the Yellowstone Basin, peaked on March 22nd at 88% of the normal peak, and as of yesterday, the mountain snowpack in that reach was down to 38% of the normal peak. So at this point, we've already lost more than half of the snow that had accumulated in the mountains in both reaches, and typically by this time of the year, we would still have about 80% of the snow remaining. As a result of the snowmelt, we've seen some small to moderate rises on several streams in the upper basin, but flows are still quite low for this time of year, and there are no gauges above flood stage. And in fact, we've been losing water in storage this week. The total volume of water, in the reservoir system has been drifting down slowly. Last year, mountain snowpack peaked at 141% of normal in the reach above Fort Peck and 136% of normal in the Fort Peck to Garrison reach, and both reaches peaked on May 2nd. So as for our real-time regulation of the reservoir system, we have many things going on right now. At Gavins Point Dam, currently all the releases are being made through the spillway to allow the trash racks at the power plant to be cleaned out. This was expected to end today, but they have asked for an extension to go through Tuesday of next week to complete that clean out of the trash racks. We're currently providing full-service navigation flow support. If the total system storage falls below 57 million acre-feet on July 1st, flow support will be reduced for the second half of the navigation season. The forage fish spawn is also ongoing, so we continue to adjust the releases from the reservoirs to provide a steady to rising reservoir at Fort Peck and Oahe this year. Yesterday, we reduced releases from Fort Peck from 10,000 to 9,000 to keep that reservoir steady. And last month, releases from Garrison were increased in order to keep the Oahe reservoir steady. As a result, Garrison reservoir has declined over 2 feet since early April. Next year, the releases will be adjusted if necessary to maintain a steady to rising pool at Garrison, and this is part of our normal operation where we cycle which reservoirs get emphasis during the forage fish spawn. The turnip plover nesting season is ongoing, but is off to a slow start. Piping plovers have been spotted in all reaches of the basin except in Montana. To date, 51 piping plover nests have been located, with the highest number of nests on Lewis and Clark Lake and on the river reach below Gavins Point Dam. Very few nests have been found on the new habitat that was created below Gavins Point Dam due to last year's flood. The first interior least tern was spotted in the basin this week, but no least tern nests have been found. In response to the start of the nesting season, we've adjusted the releases from several of the dams. At Garrison, we've put a hydropower peaking pattern on to establish, or it has been established to limit the fluctuations in the river stage below the dam. And at Gavins Point, we've begun our steady release flow to target operation. And the purpose of this regulation is to keep birds from nesting on low elevation sandbar habitat and to reduce the risk of flooding nests later in the season as tributary flows recede and higher releases are needed from the reservoir to meet the navigation targets. So in summary, the conditions in the basin are favorable this year for providing good support to all the authorized project purposes. The risk of snowmelt-driven flooding is low at this point, but normal rainfall-driven flooding can be expected throughout the summer. If heavy rainfall events occur, which they undoubtedly will sometime during the season, releases from the reservoirs will be adjusted to the extent reasonably possible to lower river stages downstream and reduce damages. This is our typical flood operation for the main stem reservoir system. So thank you very much, and back to you, Monique.
Thank you, Jody. Brett Budd, the Chief of the Omaha District Systems Restoration Team, will now provide a levee repair status update.
Thank you, Monique, and good afternoon, everyone. Currently, the Omaha District has 18 levee rehabilitation projects that are authorized and funded under Public Law 8499. To date, 11 of those 18 levee systems have awards and ongoing construction. The most critical and time-sensitive of those repairs have been completed, and we are finishing our current construction contracts with pre-final and final inspections on those repairs taking place at the following. Levee L575, all breach and non-breach areas near Percival and Hamburg, Iowa. L536, south of Rockport, Missouri. L550, the upper breach and all non-breach repair areas near Rockport, Missouri. The lower breach is actually having the final inspection conducted today. Council Bluff pump stations, both at 28th Street and Veterans Memorial Bridge, as well as the priority area repairs. That final inspection is scheduled for the week of Memorial Day. Levees R613 and R616 south of Bellevue, Nebraska. L611, 614 south of Council Bluffs, Iowa, and Ditch 6 at Hamburg, Iowa. It's important to note that this is not the end of the work on the levees in the PL 8499 program in the Missouri River Basin, including some of those listed above. For instance, there is ongoing construction of a setback levee near Highway 2 on levee L575. We're simply finishing up the initial rounds of repairs that included the most critical fixes. There will be many more repairs to come. Current heavy construction is underway at the following. Levee L601 south of Pacific Junction, Iowa. Site construction is actively occurring on sand seepage berms, seeding, and replacement of a piggyback levee section. Levee L575 near Hamburg, Iowa. Construction is underway on a 3.8-mile setback levee north of Highway 2 across from Nebraska City, Nebraska. This stretch of levee experienced significant underseepage issues during the flood of 2011. This setback may also have incidental impacts on relieving the constriction point along the river. Levee R573 south of Nebraska City, Nebraska. Construction activities are ongoing. Rock riprap is being placed to protect the levee toe, and dredging activities are ongoing to provide sand for seepage berms and to fill up the riverside scour. Overall work is 79% complete. A final wetland assessment is ongoing. Over the past several months, we've engaged in geotechnical investigations along areas that experienced seepage problems during the flood of 2011. We are currently performing an analysis of the data. That data is leading to decisions regarding the installation of additional seepage berms or relief wells as needed along existing and new flood control structures. Simply put, our goal is to complete all investigations, design, construction for levee repairs by the end of the calendar year. Thus far, the Omaha District has awarded contracts that total $97 million for levee repairs. The original estimates for all levee repairs was $280 million. Based on the geotechnical investigations, we anticipate Phase 2 contracts to be awarded in the coming weeks for the following. The Omaha Flood Protection Project, levee L624, 627 in Council Bluffs, Iowa, R616 and 613 near Bellevue, Nebraska, L611 and L611, 614 south of Council Bluffs, L575 near Percival and Hamburg, Iowa, levee R573 near Nebraska City, Nebraska, L550 near Rockport, Missouri, and L536 south of Rockport. Additionally, we expect the following projects to be solicited in the near future. Levee L594 west of Thurman, Iowa, levee R562 north of Peru, Nebraska, levee R520 north of Rulo, Nebraska, R548 at Nemaha, Nebraska, and also levees located at Sidney, Nebraska, Howes, Nebraska, and Lake Wakanda, Nebraska. We've also been performing engineering assessments, studies, and designs at all 6 main stem dams. Included in this effort are operating projects associated with the main stem dams, like the Williston Levee in Williston, North Dakota, and Pipestem Dam, also in North Dakota. Currently, there's $28 million in awarded contract work at the dams and operating projects. The current estimate for all main stem dams and related flood control structure repairs is more than $200 million. One common project across the 6 main stem dams are gate repairs. These include a 3D computer model of the gates, inspection and repair of welds and corrosion, sandblasting and repainting, as well as replacing wire, ropes, seals, and controls and other items. This work will be done in 3 phases. The first phase, which includes the 28 Tainer gates at Garrison Dam, each of which are 40 feet wide by 29 feet tall, and the 8 Tainer gates at Oahe Dam, which are 50 feet by 23.5 feet, are already out for proposal, with proposals due today. The second phase will include Big Bend Dam and Fort Randall Dam. For Phase 3, we'll work on Fort Peck Dam and Gavins Point Dam. Taking a look at the current and upcoming work for each of the dams and associated flood control projects, at Fort Peck Dam in Montana, we set the date for the Fort Peck Spillway Flow Test for the week of September 4th. This test will help us determine the performance level of the subdrain system beneath the concrete slabs of the spillway. In the event of localized heavy rain or flooding, we'll adjust the date. Estimates for the cost of flood repair work at Fort Peck Dam is roughly $40 million. Work currently or soon to be underway at Fort Peck includes the spillway concrete rehab, repairing the spillway plunge pool, spillway gate rehab, rehabilitation of the gate control systems at 8 emergency gates, repair spillway access roads and drains, recreation area roads, access roads and drains throughout the project, as well as relief wells and horizontal outfalls. At the Williston Levee in North Dakota, work has begun on an $11.7 million contract to restore the levee crest to its original elevation and to repair and restore the road located at the levee's toe. Additional awards will be made for relief well installation or seepage burns once the assessment of the geotechnical data is complete. At Garrison Dam in North Dakota, estimates for the cost of flood-related repair work at Garrison is roughly $41 million. Work currently underway or soon to begin at Garrison includes spillway gate rehab, restoration of the spillway approach, dredging and riprap installation, flood control tunnel repairs, west terrace drain and powerhouse slope drain rehabs, left upstream bank repairs, repair damaged recreation roads, the west tailrace roads, and other roads throughout the project. At Pipestem Dam in North Dakota, work is being scheduled for the repair of the upstream riprap blanket on the project. At Hawaii Dam in South Dakota, estimates for the flood control related repair is roughly $18 million. Work currently or soon to be underway at Hawaii includes spillway gate rehab, dredging the upstream area of the spillway gates, repair Stilling Basin Road, Hawaii Recreation Area Rehab in North Dakota, Fort Yates erosion control. At Big Bend Dam in South Dakota, ongoing work at the left tailrace campground will take longer than initially anticipated. As a result, the campground will not be able to open on July 1st as originally estimated. As work on this project nears completion, we'll update the public as to when the campground may open. Estimates for cost-related repair work at Big Bend Dam is roughly $11 million. Work currently or soon underway at Big Bend includes spillway gate rehabs, upstream riprap, relief well outfalls, campground electrical repairs, and the campground road and parking repairs. At Fort Randall Dam in South Dakota, estimates for flood-related repair work is roughly $17 million. Work currently or soon underway at Fort Randall includes spillway gate rehab, repairing E-road, A-wall repair and erosion protection, repairing trash racks, replacing louvers and gate hoist controls, cultural resource post-flood impact site repairs. At Gavins Point Dam in South Dakota, we conducted an inspection of the upper spillway slab at Gavins Point on May 9th to determine the extent of any damage or erosion on the frost blanket beneath the concrete structure. A combination of ground-penetrating radar and traditional drill borings are used. The contractors continue to process and assess the data. We anticipate receiving the data in the next several weeks. Based on those results, we may have additional testing or repairs required for the upper spillway slabs. Estimates for the cost of flood-related repair at Gavins Point Dam is roughly $10 million. Work currently underway or soon to begin includes the spillway gate rehab, tailrace erosion protection, relief well, and horizontal outfalls. Another component of repair is just beginning as we focus on the bank stabilization and navigation projects. This will be done in 2 increments, with the first focusing on structures north of the Platte River and the second increment focusing south of the Platte River. Additionally, we'll do some work on Hogue Island in North Dakota. Between bank stabilization and levee work, the Omaha District is anticipating the placement of more than 700,000 tons of riprap in the Missouri River Basin during this fiscal year. Additional information and updates are available on the Omaha District webpage and the Flood 2011 repairs link. Thank you, and back to you, Monique.
Thank you, Brett. Robin Wancom of the Kansas City District Emergency Operations Center will now provide an update on the status of levee repairs for Kansas City District.
Thank you, Monique. The Kansas City District identified 57 requests for assistance when the requests were requested. 48 levee projects are currently identified to complete. 4 of those projects of the original 57 were denied due to minimal damages, and 5 levee districts have determined they are self-performing their repairs. The rough order magnitude of the damages identified was $42 million. Currently, 3 of these 48 levee projects have completed repairs at Rushville, Sugar Lake, North Kansas City, and Wakanda. 14 of 31 contracts have been identified and awarded or will be awarded for approximately $12.9 million for those 14 contracts. We currently have 4 contracts pending award, and 4 additional solicitation announcements are posted and available. In the state of Kansas, for Clyde, Kansas, a construction contract was awarded to Bayer Construction on 13 April. The contractor is currently preparing to place rock. Contract completion is 1 July. For MRLS 471-460R, a construction contract was awarded on 9 February to Cajun Contractors of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. The overall project is 55% complete. Construction completion is scheduled for 21 June. Grape Ball and Schwartz levee, a construction contract was awarded to Coastal Engineering for $141,500 on 10 May. The contractor is currently awaiting notice of intent approval by Kansas Department of Health and Environment prior to initiating work. Kansas Department of Corrections contract was awarded to AJL Precision on 5 April. The upstream breach is 95% complete. Overall, the project is 35% complete. Contract completion is 11 August 2012. Wolcott Drainage District, Sections 1, 2, and 3. A construction contract was awarded to Prudent Technologies for $74,662 on 9 May. Contractor is currently awaiting notice of intent approval by the Kansas Department of Health and Environment prior to initiating work. In the state of Missouri, Union Township, the project was awarded 16 February to Idecker Incorporated of St. Joe, Missouri. Overall, the project is 85% complete. Contract completion date is 21 June, with seeding completed 1 October. Holt County Number 10, Section 2. This is the final breach. Proposals were received 17 May. Contract award is pending. MRLS 497L. A request for proposals was sent out on 15 May and a site visit was held. Proposals will be received on 22 May. MRLS 488L. Bids were received on 15 May. Contract award is pending. Holt County Number 9. A construction contract was awarded to HB Construction on 10 April. Contractor has mobilized. MRLS 476L. The solicitation was posted on 4 April. Bids are due 25 May, pending real estate certification by the sponsor. Cannon Drainage District and Kimsey-Holly Creek. The project was awarded 22 March to ESI of Kansas City, Missouri. Overall, this project is 65% complete. Contract completion date is 25 July, with seeding to be completed by 1 October of 2012. MRLS 455L. This contract was awarded with the MRLS 471-460R contract, and the overall project is 55% complete. MRLS 448 to 443L. This contract was advertised on 24 April. Bids are due 24 May. Rushville Sugar Lake. Contract was awarded on 31 January to ESI. Project was completed 20 April. Bean Lake, a construction contract was awarded on 10 February to TJC Engineering of Louisville, Kentucky. The project is 97% complete. Construction completion is scheduled for 28 June 2012. MRLS 408L and 400L, the contract was awarded to TL Enterprises on March 23rd. Overall, this project is 50% complete. Construction completion is 4 June of 2012. The Belcher-Lozier levee system, the solicitation was posted on 10 May, site visit held on 17 May, and bids are due 13 June. Henrietta Crooked River levee, Section 1, bids were received on 16 May, contract award is pending. Sugar Tree levee, bids were received on 15 May, contract award is pending. Saline County Number 2, a construction contract was awarded to R&L Boone Construction for $28,975 on 10 May. Pre-construction meeting was held on 15 May. And the Waukenda Levee District, a construction contract awarded to Idecker of St. Joseph, Missouri on 23 January was completed on 11 May. For continuous updates, please refer to our website at www.nwk.usace.army.mil and click on the Levee Rehabilitation tab in the center of the site. This completes Kansas City District's report for this afternoon.
Thank you, Robin. Just a reminder to everyone that these calls are recorded in their entirety and they can be retrieved from the Corps' website or from iTunes by no later than close of business today. We will now begin fielding questions by state for the Corps and for Dr. Toddy. Remember to press *6 to come off mute if you'd like to ask a question. We will start with the state of Kansas. Congressional delegation members, tribes, state officials, local government, or press. State of Missouri, congressional delegation members, state officials, local government, or press.
This is Marshall White at the News Press in St. Joe.
Hi, Marshall.
Hi. Jody.
Yes, Marshall.
Could you sum up the conditions on the lower Missouri River compared to a year ago, right now?
Well, the lower river is considerably lower than it was a year ago. At this time last year, our releases from Gavin's Point had been increased to about 55 or 56,000 CFS. So looking at a yearly bulletin that's available on our website, stages today are from 5 to 10 feet lower than they were a year ago. Specifically down in the St. Joe area, the river is about 7.5 feet lower than it was a year ago. Down at Kansas City, about 6 feet lower, and down on the lower end of the river, about 8 feet lower. So, really, by this time last year, we had really begun our initial evacuation of water, and we also had very high flows coming out of some of the tributaries, especially from eastern South Dakota.
And we're looking for what we could call a normal year on the river for the remainder of the summer.
Yeah, I think normal is the right word, and normal includes, short periods of high flows in response to downstream rainfall events.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's all I need.
You're welcome. Thanks, Marshall.
Thank you, Marshall. Do we have any other congressional delegation members, state officials, local government, or press on with the state of Missouri who have questions? Okay, moving to state of Iowa. Congressional delegation members, state officials, local government, or press. And just a reminder, *6 to come off mute. State of Nebraska. Congressional delegation members, tribes, state officials, local government, or press. State of South Dakota. Congressional delegation members, tribes, state officials, local government, or press.
Hi, this is Tony Mangan at KCCR.
Hi, Tony.
Monique. Jody, if I can flip that question that Marshall asked you, describe what the river is now in the Pier 4 Pier area compared to what it was a year ago.
Sure. A year ago, our releases from Milwaukee on this date were 46,000 cubic feet per second. We're releasing, yesterday we put out, looks like 24,000, so releases are slightly more than half of what we had last year. The reservoir itself today is 10 feet lower than it was last year at this time. I don't have right handy a stage. Let me look here. I have a stage. Okay, I'm sorry. Last year at this time, the stage in here was 11.2 feet, and today it is 6.6, so about 5.5 feet lower than it was last year at this time.
How would you classify where the river is at this point? Is this normal for a normal year? Not counting last year, obviously. Is it normal for a normal year? Is it below normal? Is it where it should be? I mean, how would you classify it?
We're forecasting runoff that's slightly less than normal, about 87% of normal. So I'd say we're a little drier than normal. And so, if we had a little bit wetter conditions, our releases might actually be lower because we would be holding back some water to prevent downstream flooding. So, the releases are probably pretty close to the normal range, and each year is different.
Is there any indication to you that, and I know that we've had the rain and maybe the drought conditions have eased a little bit, are you looking down the road that we could be in more of a drought condition this year, or are we still too far away from that?
Well, I don't think we're in drought conditions yet throughout the basin. It's not beyond the realm of possibility that we just have a single year that's slightly below normal. It certainly doesn't look like it's going to be an incredibly dry year. You do have good inflows still coming into the reservoir system. So, and our plan for operating the reservoir accounts for drought. If, as I mentioned in my remarks, we'll have that next storage check on the 1st of July, and if system storage drops from where it is or it doesn't gain from where it is right now, we'll be reducing navigation service for the second half of the season.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Tony.
Thank you, Tony.
This is Jerry with KGFX in Pure. Can I ask again to have you reiterate what's happening at Big Bend Dam? You said that there's going to be a change in when you'd open the campground there. What exactly are they doing?
We're making various repairs of the campground. We were slated to complete that repairs by July 1st, but we're going to have to extend that date out later into the summer. We'll send out a press release once we get that date pinned down for the contractor.
Okay, so the higher waters left some kind of damage behind?
It did. It inundated the campground.
I see. So is this just a case where you're having to redo boat ramps or camping areas, or can you specify what exactly has to be renovated?
Well, we're repairing the camping areas, the roads through the campground, the electrical distribution systems being replaced, and we've also installed a new water tank for the campground.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Jerry. Do we have anyone else from the state of South Dakota with congressional delegation members, tribes, state officials, local government, or press?
Monique, Tony Mangan, if I could just ask real quickly about the repair work that's being done up and down Lake Oahe, as was talked about. Is any of this unusual? I know it's all flood related, but is there anything that's worse than any of the other projects?
This is Greg Melma, Operations. I would say the damages that we've seen at Oahe are fairly typical compared to the others. Actually, Oahe fared very well. There are some, repairs that we need to address, and they're unique to Oahe, so it's kind of hard to compare them. But in general, as far as the scope of the repairs, they're comparable to the others.
Thank you.
Tony, this is Jody Farhat. I did my math wrong in my head.
Okay.
You're 4.5 feet lower today than it was a year ago. Sorry about that.
That's fine. Thank you very much.
And then just for everyone else's reference, or if there are any other reporters on the line that want to use Greg's quote, his name is spelled Greg, common spelling, last name Mellema, M as in Mary, E, 2 L's, E, M as in Mary, A as in Apple. Do we have any other questions from state of South Dakota? Okay, moving on to state of North Dakota, congressional delegation members, tribes, state officials, local government, or press. State of Montana, congressional delegation members, tribes, state officials, local government, or press. State of Wyoming, congressional delegation members, tribes, state officials, local government, or press. Do we have any national press on the line? Do we have any final questions before we conclude?
Hello?
Yes.
Candy McCampbell, Engineering News Records.
Hi, Candy.
Hi there. I was interested in the comments on Gavin's Point Dam, and I know they had been doing the investigation on May 9th. Sounds like there is more investigation going on up there, and I was told it might be this coming week when we might know something. Sounds like it's going to be extended.
That's correct. This is Brett Budd with the Omaha District.
Okay.
Our contractor is still going through and assessing the data. if I understand, Candy, you were up there and was able to watch the assessment going on. The contractor was doing north and south and east-west grids with his ground-penetrating radar, and he's got all that data, and he's assessing it and comparing it. Right now, we have not received any of that data or reports back from the contractor, and we anticipate in the next few weeks we should have that data, but we haven't pinned that date down yet with them.
Okay. Now, was he collecting more data than you all had expected?
No, he was collecting the data that we told him to collect.
Okay. Has that investigation or that seeing the spillways without water, because I know that you cut the flow down to zero that day, did that show up anything on a visual examination?
No, we didn't see anything there that we didn't expect.
Okay. What did you see then? You said nothing that you didn't expect, but what did you expect to see?
Where the concrete surface from the high flow, so some spalling, minor cracking.
Okay. Will you all will that involve repairs? You say minor cracking. Will you have to?
It is. Yeah. And part of what we're doing with this assessment is the contractor's going to come to us and prepare a package that will go out for bids to make any necessary repairs to the slabs.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Candy. Do we have any other final questions before we conclude today's call? Okay. Our next call is scheduled to take place Friday, June 8th. An updated media advisory will be distributed as a reminder to you. I'd like to thank you all for participating on today's call, and we are now adjourned.